Hello and welcome to the MHG podcast. As usual, life can be a little bit miserable, life can be a little bit dark, so we're here to bring you as much light and as much joy as we possibly can. Joining me this week, as ever, is the wonderful Stu. Hi Bradley, how you doing, Stu?
Not bad, not bad. As I was saying offline, somebody in my team at work has gone, and it's one of those, celebratory moments, and you take a big sigh of relief, and it's suddenly much better. Yeah, so that's good.
Fair enough. You haven't got idiot children to deal with. I have.
No, I know. I do praise the Lord for that every day, I have to say.
Lo cut her finger open last night making dinner and had to go to hospital to get it glued. Just glued on some butterfly stitches. So asked Lucas to go with us because she was losing blood. She's got health issues anyway with regards to low iron levels and low blood levels and stuff like that. So I said to Lucas, go with her. Just in case, she starts to feel faint at the wheel or anything like that, at least you're there. He stropped about it the whole way, stropped about it there, whatever. Anyway, as they're leaving, he found out what happened. She went, yeah, they glued it and there could be a couple of butterfly stitches. Him, oh, it's just like what Dad had with his leg.
Oh, exactly the same.
Yeah, what?
Yeah.
I don't even know where to unpack that. Which way round that's most idiotic, I don't know. That he thinks that either the finger being done was as bad as the leg, or literally just a couple of butterfly stitches and some glue fixed my leg.
That's what it was, wasn't it?
Yeah. I overplayed my position, really, didn't I? 7 weeks in hospital, cutting it off. That wasn't needed.
You were a bit of a drama queen about it, but we'll let you off.
Yeah, well, I am the queen. I am a queen, whatever, either way. But do you know what can't be fixed, Stu? Do you know what can't be fixed?
What can't be fixed?
Broken video games, Stu.
No, apparently they can't. No.
Thankfully, I've been playing a couple that aren't broken. Hopefully, you've been playing one that isn't broken too. But I've got more than you in terms of video games, not in terms of life fulfillment. That took a weird turn. So I'll let you ask the question.
Yeah, what have you been playing?
So, first one I've been playing, it's a bit of a theme this week, couple of visual novelty type themes. The first one is Urban Myth Dissolution Center, which is one I've been looking forward to since I first laid eyes on it. It was either last year or the year before. I really can't remember because there was some really good indie-based, what are they called, E3 type events. And yeah, Urban Myth Dissolution Center was one I really like the look of, where you are basically having to solve mysteries and murders and things that happen based around urban myths. So you're someone who gets hired by this shadowy organisation, shall we say? Maybe not shadowy, but a little bit shadowy. Don't want to ruin too much. And you find out you've got this special ability where you sense things and you're able to see things that others can't. So you basically need to go and investigate crimes or things that have happened that the police won't deal with because, they're just silly. It's of course this hasn't happened kind of thing. So a bunch of old famous urban myths are there, like the person under the bed or the lady in red, all those kind of urban myths, and is there a truth behind these, and can you solve them, and what happens? And it's really, really good. It's it's a basic point and click. There's not too much going on in terms of, we're not talking 90s style point and click again, where it's the most obtuse way of you need to get this hook thing down, and you need to go and do some fishing with a certain type of fish food that you can only get if you barter your apples away to the person who you've never met before to then go back. And it's not that kind of point and click. It's a bit more obvious. Oh, there's these feeds, click around, and the story happens around it. And what this does really well, the point and click stuff, the mystery solving is all good, really good. But what really sells the game is the characterization within the game. So everyone you meet obviously has their own personality. That's not a big thing in video games anymore. Not everyone's just basically cut out and paste. But everyone's got their own personality. But what you find is the way you have to approach each mystery is based a lot of it around the personalities of the people you meet. So like the opening tutorial level is you're doing a mystery around someone you know. So the character you're playing is really eager to help this person they know. Like, oh, my friend's not crazy, of course not, and I really want to help them. And then there's like someone like she rooms with, like at the university they're at and stuff like that. And there's a little bit, is there a bit of distrust there? You know, what sort of, is she an actual like person who wants to help her? Is she this? So you kind of get these elements for all the different characters, and it all shines through. And there's like your boss in there, and he seems like really helpful, but he talks in a way and presents himself in a way that it's like, oh, could there be something down the line with him? I don't know. And other people you met, it's like, well, this one's really helpful and bubbly, and it's like you start to get this distrust in there, but at no point, at like sort of early in the game or anything like that, are you getting these elements where you're like your own distrust is proven in any way, shape or form. So it kind of then takes you into this feeling of, oh, maybe everyone is okay. They are just what they are on the surface and stuff like that. And then stories develop, characters develop, as you go through sort of like more and more mysteries and stuff like that. In many ways, it's kind of like, do you know how you had like the supernatural thing of the week in X-Files, but you had a building characterization around that would last an entire season, etc. It's kind of got that structure where you've got the individual cases, but there's a bigger story building around them, and the way it all just gets blended together is brilliant. But what the other thing it's got, and I'm just really enamored by it, and I can't really put my finger on what the art style is. It's almost Game Boy color scheme, but more pixel art type thing, but modern at the same time. It's a really fascinating art style that really, like, if they tried to do these sort of like really ultra realistic 3D characters or even like HD like vector drawings or anything, I don't think it'd have the personality it gets having this Game Boy monochrome-esque style with like elements of colour in it that come through. It's like it's a very grey blue like type of atmosphere with just like the colour accents that they'd added to it really do things. You learn to look out for these. Are these important? Are they not important? What's this and stuff? And it's just all blends together to be this fascinating experience that it only takes a few hours to complete. It's not a long game or anything like that, but it is just fascinating and will hold your attention from start to finish.
It does sound intriguing. Yeah. I'd say the art style's a bit like that Junji Ito. You heard of him? That horror manga artist. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It looks really quite intriguing. Yeah. It's not my type of game, but it's one of those. It looks so good and kind of want to buy it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there's a demo for it as well, which is probably worth checking out because it's. If you're not a fan of like point and click or visual novels or anything like that, there's a chance you may not be as enamored with it. But as I said, if you've got any interest in, I say, whether it's mysteries, supernatural, point and click, visual novels, anything like that, then it's definitely worth trying at least the demo because there's some really great elements in there. And I knew it was going to be good, but it's better than even I thought it was going to be. I really, really like it. I'm glad I've got around to it.
Excellent. Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to try the demo out, see what I think of it, but it does sound like a bit of a perler.
Excellent. So that's one myth out the way. What myth have you been playing, or is it a fact? I don't know.
Well, it's like trying to prove or dispel the myth that the Transformers existed and landed on Earth, I guess. But that's
in real life.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not. I'm just trying to go along with the go. Apparently, according to Michael Bay, they did all sorts of stuff. And
they probably done Stonehenge.
I don't like any of it, but they probably did. In fact, didn't Stonehenge appear in one of those films? Those films were so bad.
I've not seen them, I might watch them.
Please don't. Honestly, do
Okay.
yourself a favour. Honestly. Okay, right. Being serious. The first one, passable. 6 out of 10, right? All the rest of Michael Bay's terrible. Bumblebee on its own, not bad. About a 6 or a 7 out of 10. So watch those two. I've heard good things about Rise of the Beasts, but I've not seen it. So you might want to give that a go. But honestly, the rest, yeah, no.
Okay.
No. And one of the big problems, and this is going to tie into the game I'm going to talk about, so don't worry about that. One of the things that really upsets me is how violent all of those things are. Like, they're really, really violent. It's like, yeah, just because they're robots doesn't mean, like, pulling their heads off and skull fucking them is all right, kind of a thing. You know what I mean? And
No, you've got to do that to humans.
Exactly. But I mean, even though they never quite get to that level, there's a ton of like gratuitous violence in those films. And even if you can put up with that, that's really not in the spirit of the Transformers anyway. And also it ruins the narrative, because the whole narrative is supposed to be about them being in disguise and having fun and funky gadgets and having these over the top villains, and it's campy, and it's a kids thing.
It was a cartoon to sell toys.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like if you took Thundercats and he was decapitating people with the sword of whatever it was called. It's just that's the kiddie.
Come on.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry, it's been 40 years. I'll have to be like, fair enough.
I still go. There's a bit sort of like if I've got to go somewhere, I just go. You're on my scanner and I'm on my way, because that's what's said in like one of the scenes in Thundercats Ho the movie.
Nice. I'll have to watch those again, and I'll have to give them another go. But anyway, yes. So I've been playing Transformers Devastation, which is the PlatinumGames game, and probably one of 2 or 3 Transformers games actually worth playing. And it is completely in the vein of what we call in the community, because I am part of the fan community, the G1 continuity, Generation 1, the first Transformers.
The good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And it's firmly in that camp. So it's bright, colourful, cel-shaded, simplistic graphics, nice, blocky, chunky, I was going to call them sprites then, characters. And all of the theme is, you're not killing anything really. You're defeating the enemy, and they'll kind of shake their fist and go, I'll get you next time. All of that kind of a vibe. And it's platinum, as you'd expect. It's really tight beat 'em up essentially. So there is some ranged combat in there, but that's the lower end of the spectrum. It's sort of 80% melee, 20% ranged weapons. But what's great about it, and this is the key thing really, as it's Transformers, is the actual transforming part and being the different robot characters is really important and distinctly different from the robot form, and also very, very fundamentally key, works well in the world, works well in a physics sense, doesn't take too long to transform and therefore make it pointless, and it also makes it fun, and they do different things that really feed into the gameplay. So the core gameplay loop is as tight as you'd expect from Platinum. It's more simplistic than their normal stuff. So, it's probably one of the reasons why, it's 10 years old now. It's probably one of the reasons why it wasn't a massive seller, because it's probably a little bit too precise and technical for people who want, a dumb kind of, Tomb Raider-y, Uncharted-y type level of action, and it's probably not sophisticated enough for people who are into like Bayonetta and Devil May Cry 5.
Platinum Phage,
yeah, exactly. But it worked for me. I really like it, and I've never played it properly before. I've dipped in and out, but because it's not been available, it's not really been something I've had a good proper go of. But I've only ever played this one, and I think Fall of Cybertron. And Fall of Cybertron's good, and it has good use of the IP, and
that was on PlayStation 2. Fall of Cybertron, was it, or was it a cross-gen game?
I think it was cross-gen at least, because it was definitely on PS3 and Xbox 360. Okay. Yeah, quite a long time ago now, though we're talking. But another really good Transformers game that uses the IP well. But yeah, Devastation it's Platinum, but it looks so cartoony. It gives you that thrill of playing a cartoon basically, and you don't really get that often, and it holds up really well because of the cel shading style. It's fun. There's loads of different characters to play with. They're all very different, and it's not like an absolute all-time classic or anything, but it's really, really engaging, and it's the kind of thing that you want from Platinum, and they're going through a really rough time, lost a lot of staff, had to downsize, had some projects that failed and lost them tons of money. But yeah, it's still one of their better ones, maybe B tier, but it's definitely, seek it out and grab a copy if you want to play that kind of game.
Yeah, it's I played that back on release. I might try to dig it out again somewhere, but it's that's when Platinum were at their best, when they was making, like, they'd had one like absolute standout banger of a game, and then they'd have a couple of experimental ones that were decent and stuff like that, and I enjoyed that kind of thing they had to. And then obviously they got swallowed up by the machine, which is, if you don't produce game buster sales day in, day out, then you're useless to us, kind of thing, which is, again, it's a massive shame, because like Transformers, it's flawed, such as, like some of their best stuff, like Vanquish, it's flawed, but they're so fun to play, because you're not going into them expecting highbrow game of the year content. Whereas I think if you've got to do a new Bayonetta, or you've got to do something like that, the expectations are sky high. Whereas if you played with Transformers, you make a decent Transformers game. Well, it's a licensed IP, so no one's got any expectations anyway. So you can only really go up from there. I mean, some will go down, but or it's something no one's ever heard of, and like you get Vanquish, and they do that. Wonderful 101, I thought, came out of nowhere and was really good but flawed. It's a shame what's happened to Platinum of late. Because I think that was their wheelhouse, making these decent, just fun 10-hour games.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, being pushed into the games as a service model has been one of the harshest things, and that's caused most of the trouble. And you would have thought that if they were dragged by a publisher into going in any direction, it would be Souls-like, because they're already in the melee combat kind of zone, and you would have thought they'd brought more stuff like that in. And even though I wouldn't really want to see that from Platinum, I would much more happily say to them, go that direction if it will keep you alive, than anything else. But yeah, it's from an era, like you say, it's a little bit of a golden era for them. It's around the time of Metal Gear Rising, which I also love. So they've taken on
the best Metal Gear.
Yeah, well, I love it. I love Metal Gear Rising. I won't have a word said against it.
Honestly, it's the only decent Metal Gear game. Oh dear!
All right. Now that genuinely hurts me. That that hurts my soul to hear that. But,
it's one of those that I know I'm wrong about, but I just never got on with Metal Gear games properly.
I know. No, I get it. But yeah, no, Rising and this, and I've never played, but I probably will now. They're Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one as well. I might give that a whirl.
Yeah, it's meant to be decent. Again, very flawed, but decent from what I understand.
Yeah, they took on IPs, and I think, some of it is trying to squish it into their model, and they're restricted by what they can do a little bit. But I think it works really well with this and Rising. So yeah, it's a really good game. It's really good.
Yeah, I would gladly have had Platinum just like churn out like 80s based cartoons as video games in their style, like a Platinum Thundercats, a Platinum He-Man, a Platinum Jason the World Warriors. I think it'd be amazing.
Yeah, that would be good. I think a really good
Platinum Visionaries, where you turn into the animals out your chest. I mean, imagine what they could have done with that stuff.
That would be a good one to touch on. Yeah, definitely. I loved Visionary.
Platinum Teletubbies.
Yeah. Teletubbies. A Teletubby beat 'em up. That'd be good.
If you was gonna force me to like a niche and do that, live service wasn't it. I think Platinum, like just Platinum game with an IP on it, would have been a great way for just turn over money, make some profit. Because if you'd done a Masters of the Universe Platinum game, nigh on everyone around the age of 40 and above will buy it because that's our childhood. You go, oh, Master Universe, yes. Platinum, oh, definitely.
Yeah.
So,
but yes,
what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? They won't listen to us, which is silly because we know all the answers. So, yeah.
Yes. So moving on, I played a sequel to a game that I wasn't overly enamored with to start with, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it another go, but go via the sequel. And I've played Citizen Sleeper 2. Now, the issue with Citizen Sleeper, I don't think was anything to do with the game itself. It was more to do with at the time where accessibility was not all this, like a lot of the games put in it, and it was so text heavy, but you couldn't really read the text properly on the Steam Deck and everything. So it's one of those that I kind of tried to play but never got on with, and then kind of never went back to it. But I've played a lot more, like I played some more Disco Elysium, and I've played more games where you throw it's dice-based decision making and stuff like that. Even some like Dungeons and Dragons type games such as Baldur's Gate and so on and so forth. So I thought, you know what? Let's give this one a go. A lot of people really like Citizen Sleeper, so let's give Citizen Sleeper 2 a go and see if we can really get into it this time. And I'm pleased to say, yeah, so much so that I do want to go back and play Citizen Sleeper again, just to see if I can go back to it fresh with a new mind and get something from it, because it's a wonderful game. It's got a wonderful story behind it, which I'm still not quite sure I get yet, but it's really well written. Still lots of text and everything, but what it's got now, the thing I really like is it's a lot more interactive. Like, you're not like spending most time reading, there's more things to do, so you're doing more dice rolls and interacting with people and actually doing the game, which is really, really good. As I say, there's loads of characters you meet, you make your decisions, you roll your dice. Because again, I think almost all of these games are built on the fundamentals of what is essentially Dungeons and Dragons. A story's told, you roll your dice, and that has an effect on your decisions and the outcomes of what you do and stuff like that. Except I think instead of using like D20 dice in this, it's more just dice faces with different stats and icons on them and stuff that do stuff. So it's not like completely Dungeons and Dragons again, but it's using that element. As I said, it's got these ideas in it where you're doing stuff and you might get an outcome with your dice, and it encourages you to go, right, do you play it safe and go with this progression, or do you want to maybe push it a bit, maybe see if you can get lucky and go in another direction? But if you do it, this risk versus reward thing, the rewards are so much better and will really aid you further down the line. But if you fail, you could be screwed for a long time. And it's kind of gives you those moments, almost not every opportunity, but at really vital points of the game where you kind of like, oh, and you will sit there going, do I want to? It will. I know I've got this, I could do this, but you sit there thinking about what you want to do and the possible outcome, and you're trying to think like 5 steps ahead, and is it worth this risk? And I think, unlike, say, a Platinum style game or anything like that, where you go into a level, you go, oh, shall I go just like hack and slash at this boss, or shall I go and take it easy and like figure him out, try and sort of like break him down in bits and stuff like that? If you get it wrong, you just restart that level and you go. This kind of has this element where every decision you make is permanent. So you make a decision and that's it. You can't kind of go back to just before it or anything like that. But what you can do as part of the game is you can also, like sort of like your character, you can kind of rebuild them in many ways. So if you've built up certain stats, you can go back, do dice rolls, everything, and get different stats to kind of almost like completely rebuild your character. So if you know you're struggling with certain elements, and it's going to be a chore to get through the game, instead of restarting, you can kind of just find a way to sort of like completely sort of like rebuild them, which is a really, really, really good idea, I think, to just keep you progressing but without sort of going, oh, you've got to go and do all of this stuff again just to get there, like the build you want. As I said, there's so much to do. It's very tactical in many ways. It's very story driven. It's definitely like choose your own adventure. There is like sort of like reading that's in there as well. But it's so far, I don't even know how far through it I am. I wanted to kind of get to the end of it before I like covered it, but I might be one of those that I'm playing all year kind of thing. But so far, like the interactions I've had, the story, everything, the characters, the gameplay, actually the dice rolling stuff, it's just spectacular. It's one of those where I don't think it'll be my personal game of the year because it's still not my ideal game. But if this isn't in conversations with a lot of people at the end of the year, I'll be very, very surprised. It's a very special game. For me, someone who tried to play the original Cut with it, it's obviously better in every single way. So, yeah, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the first one, even though it's kind of out of my wheelhouse. I didn't complete it, but I played quite a lot of it. So I think I'll probably at some point in the future probably pick it up. It actually doesn't feel like long since the last one came out. I know it's probably like
2022. No, 2022, not that long at all. I thought it was longer than that, in all fairness. Yeah. And when I checked the date, I was like, really? I swear this was COVID, this game.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah,
it's weird how the mind works. It doesn't feel like any time ago for me since it was out. So I'm not ready to play it again, if you see what I mean. But I will in the future, definitely.
Oh, I think if you enjoyed the first, I think you'll like this even more. Fantastic art styles and everything as well. Great, again, like with Urban Myth Dissolution Center, great use of colour. And I think this is something we're seeing a lot more now in video games, is they're really considering, like you had in movies where you get certain colour palettes are used to convey certain things. I think you see games now use a lot more of that in video games, which is great to see that they're really starting to mature in other ways. They had to get the story writing sorted first, because obviously I would say up until 5, 6, 7 years ago, I think storytelling in video games was still very immature, even in the quote unquote adult games. I think you really got to look at The Last of Us being one that done it, where it was really good storytelling, but you go before The Last of Us and you look at Naughty Dog's previous work, Uncharted, that is an example of an immature adult game, so to speak. It's really mature in what they're doing and the storytelling behind it, whereas The Last of Us, when you get to the big reveal at the end and sort of like your decisions are taken out your hands because it's not you're playing as Joel, I think that kind of storytelling really started to come in from there. And now we're seeing that's now nailed on. And not saying they're all good stories, but that whole idea of writing properly is there, that they're now looking, well, sound design's been there for years anyway. Sound design in video games, I think, it's always been ahead of like movies and TV. But now we're starting to see the how to use colour properly. It's not just bright, bold colours for the sake of being bright and bold because it's Transformers, for example. As I said, Urban Myth Dissolution Center have done it really well, where it's this monochromatic with flashes of colour and the colour means something. This has a colour palette that convey certain feelings at the right moment. And I think when you're doing decision making, you'll get certain colour palettes coming on that really stress you out over what you should do, which again, really clever. It's like usually they'd do that with some kind of timer, whereas there's no timer. You could sit there for a week and not bother pressing a button. But the colour palette and everything that goes with it, and sort of that builds the internal tension and makes you really panic over what decisions you make. And again, we're really seeing a maturity in games now, and I'm all here for it.
Yeah, 100%. It's so important. It's what's been missing for a long time, and I think AAA still won't go anywhere near it. Because I mean, if you taking, I know we're dunking on Uncharted a lot, but if you take that as an example, that's that's emulating or trying to kind of copy Indiana Jones to a degree, and like Indiana Jones is adult characters in a child's world, a childish situation, a fun situation, whereas Uncharted is morons in a child's world. You know what I mean?
Yes, but it also wants its cake. He also wants the cake and eat it, whatever that cinnamon is. Not cinnamon. Cinnamon. Yeah, cinnamon bunnies. Whatever that cinnamon bun is. That's kind of what Uncharted. It wants to be to a more mature audience, but you can't be Indiana Jones and be a more mature game. It's really, really weird, and it's games. The indie games are really sort of like taking the ideas of what makes a good storytelling situation. You can't tell a movie story in a video game, which is what I think Uncharted tries to do, and games in that ilk. You can't tell a movie story in a video game. There's a reason they're movies translated from books. What you need to do is tell your own stories or adapt it in a better way. I think Uncharted would have been a much better story without all this needless killing, because you can't have these deep moments and sort of like, I'm a cheeky chappy, I've murdered 15,000 people today again. You can't have that. Whereas if you had that where he's in a situation where he's got to kill these people, whatever, but you saw the mental toll that takes on someone, that's a great story. That's a mature story. Or you just go for... maybe you're not killing them. Maybe there's other things you do and stuff like that. It's the total balance. I think when Naughty Dog did it, and I'm picking up, when they went from Uncharted to Last of Us, I think that is where you saw the flip in the so-called bigger games really trying to take storytelling a bit more seriously and how you tell that story. Because Uncharted just looked like bright and beautiful everywhere. And Last of Us was dark, dank, and felt like mental and physical anguish. But yeah, it's one day they might catch up, but who knows?
Yeah, you never know. 30, 40 years maybe.
Yeah.
If we're still around.
I'm off to play the most seriously mature game I've ever played. Not Citizen Sleeper 2. I'm going to play Leisure Suit Larry.
Wow, yeah. No, maturity in a bucket. One, definitely.
Yeah, that's a mature game. Mature video games.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. No, that's it really this week. Some absolute bangers this week. Which after a couple of weeks of kind of games, I don't know what that was. I turned into a really posh person saying yes, but it's kind of like a couple of middling weeks. It's good to get back to some proper top-notch games.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll try and get something that actually came out this year again soon. I've bought a couple of VR games that are brand new, but I haven't even had a chance to look at them, let alone play them. So maybe next week, maybe we'll be able to talk about them.
I mean, to be fair, you say games that came out. If we was in like November, you were still saying that, then you know what? Yeah, maybe, but it's February too.
I know. I just used to a high turnover. Like I played 90 games last year, and I can guarantee you played more than that. So yeah.
I'm trying to play less because I want to actually play games to completion this year. Maybe not completion, but just get more out of them. But then Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii came out, so what are you going to do?
Exactly. You're only a human being. You're only a human. There's only so much you can do.
Yes. If I was Ganesh, I could play 3 Steam Decks.
That sounds pretty good, actually.
Yes.
Maybe you should become Ganesh.
Yeah. Yes. Get me an elephant mask.
Mm-hmm. Graft on some arms.
Yeah. And then crash that arranged marriage.
Yeah.
If you know, you know. If you know, you know.
I think that's
good
enough to end on, isn't it?
Yeah. Do your bit, Stu. Do your bit.
Fair play. So, as usual, follow us on all the socials. Make sure you check out our content on the website. Join us on Discord if you wish to chat. And apart from that, until next week, stay safe and stay sane.